Yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, thank you for joining the webinar today. My name is Adam Kurtz, and I've been with Silvon Software for a long time, and we're here today to talk about getting production data into Stratum and some of the benefits of getting production data integrated into your Stratum analytical application, and some of the challenges involved with getting that type of data into Stratum. So we wanted to talk a little bit about some of that today. We've actually been engaged with several companies in this area, and certainly we've seen some of these challenges firsthand. And so we've wanted to share some of our knowledge today and of what some things of the application can actually do with this data to help with some of your challenges on the production floor. So welcome again. I appreciate your time today. And so let's kind of talk a little bit about some of those challenges. So what are some of the KPIs that we typically see out there that these plant managers, these folks out there that want to see from the data coming from the production side of their enterprise? Currently you're looking at Viewer and the latest version of Viewer. If you notice, we've got the dashboarding on full display here, which is now available. So that's something new, and we'll talk about that at a different session. But on the left-hand side, you can see all the different views that we have related to production and performance reporting. So this should give you an idea of some of the analytics that are available in this area. And so some of the folks that we've been dealing with, one in particular, is actually a food company, and they make packaged meat. And so some of their critical areas was basically to kind of see what their production yields were. So if we take a look at one of our views here called production yield analysis, I'm going to go ahead and run that. And as you can see, the data returns, and I'm able to actually start my analysis at this level, at the facility level. So here at the facility, I can see I got two facilities in the mix, Chicago and Phoenix, and we'll see that my year-to-date numbers for my production in terms of what my meats that I'm producing here, all the pounds of the materials going in and what I'm actually yielding from that material. So pounds in, pounds out, and then I've got a yield percentage that's kind of telling me what my percentage of yield is. Now, if we also implement and import your standards, we can actually compare your actual yields to your standard targets. And we've done this with some of our customers. So at that point, then you can actually calculate a difference between the two. Typically, if you're doing better, a more efficient yield, that's going to, well, it's going to show green areas, obviously. This is a favorable yield percentages, and certainly this is favorable in terms of comparing it to the standard. So that's, this year we can see all of the current year's data, and then also, as you all know, Stratum certainly is able to store history as well. So as time goes on, you'll have years of history in the background that you'll be able to access and analyze as well. So you can compare how you're doing this year versus last. Are your yields getting better? Looks like they're actually declining. So interesting, and certainly, the different levels that you can drill to would be production related, of course. If I drill in on facility, I can see all my different plants. I only have two. I can see what my work order type is. These are all typical dimensions that we see when we design these solutions for our customers. You'll have different types of work order types. Perhaps you want to see this by line, by production line, by shift. Again, then you can kind of pinpoint where your yields are occurring, where the better yields are happening, and where areas that you need help or work improvements. And the data, of course, this is demo data, so it's not the greatest, but it should give you an idea of, areas, the levels of analysis that you can get to, and certainly, taking advantage of previous levels. So as you produce finished good, that finished good, Stratum already knows how to roll that data up to the different product levels. So if I want to see this by canned goods, I can see that that's what this particular line is dealing with. And here's all the different products that they're producing. So now I've got my yield percentages down at the finished good level. So quite a bit of drilling there, as you can see. We were able to start at a high level at facility plant, get down to our line and our shift so we can see kind of where this data is happening, on what line, what shifts, and then certainly taking advantage of our product hierarchy that you already have within Stratum. So notice that these finished goods that you're producing will marry up with your product hierarchy, and you'll be able to benefit, certainly by analyzing your products at summary levels, at your product hierarchy levels as well. So that's another great thing about Stratum is that as you add data in, a lot of it, there's commonalities that you already have, and it marries up quite nicely here, and it aids in your analysis. So that was a big one, and this customer that we've helped, this is something they look at on a daily basis, and it's very critical for them to see this. Right now, I'm actually looking at this, at a year-to-date level. But certainly, you'll be able to change that to maybe a week, maybe down to a day, of course. I don't happen to have daily level in this demo for this data, but absolutely available. As a matter of fact, we implemented it that way for our customers. So certainly, day-by-day comparisons is absolutely critical and certainly available. So that's the production yield side of things, and normally what that will also entail is scrap analysis. So another great thing that you might want to analyze is what's going on with your scraps. Are they getting better? Are they getting worse? And again, you'll have these different, the same levels that you'll be able to analyze where my scrap percentages are occurring. Am I more efficient in certain shifts versus others? And I can get that down to my production line and then see where these scraps are occurring. So that kind of goes hand in hand. If you have this data available, certainly this is something that you'll be able to kind of get in as well and look at your scrap percentages. Kind of goes hand in hand with your yield percentages as well. So the data model is available for that in terms of analyzing the different scrap percentages that you have by shift, by line, by machine. You don't see machine here as a dimension, but certainly that's something that we can customize in as well. Speaking of machine, let's take a look at machine utilization. If we take a look at this view, this is something I'm helping another customer with. They're actually running J.D. Edwards for their manufacturing side of things. And we're able to get this data out of some of those J.D. Edwards, the F3112 table, and some of the related tables to J.D. Edwards production. And there's a time transactions table in J.D. Edwards that a lot of this data would come from. We're looking at our hours. For the production side of things, setup hours, machine hours, how long did it take to run this job or this work order, and then certainly, seeing all the different types of efficiencies revolving around the hours of setup and actual run times versus your standards. Then you can kind of get an idea of where you're at in terms of all these different types of efficiency hours that you would analyze. Again, I can drill that down to the line level, get that down to the process level, and I can see how my hours are being accrued across all the different lines and processes that I have on the production side of things. So again, this is something we are already doing for a customer. We're actually implementing something very similar to this in terms of so that they can see all the time transactions on a given day, for a given week. Again, this is something that we're looking at year to date, but certainly you'd be able to change the time slices here as well for daily, weekly, access to this data. And then certainly down to the product level, so I can see some of this data. If I capture it at the item level, I can actually drill to that and see it at the item level, certainly at the shipped level. If I go ahead and drill to the shipped level, then I can see scraps or my efficiencies, my hours by the different ships that I got going on as well. So that's your machine utilizations, and then overall production. If we take a look at that, we can see this is more of a historical look at things in terms of what I've produced, what was expected or scheduled to be produced, total units produced, and what actually was good, what was scrapped. So more of a historical look at things, looking at production history, looking at it by my ABC classification of my items, and I can drill in on my A-class items, and I can see all the different production variances that I got going on in terms of what was expected to be produced and what was actually produced. And I can see that obviously down to the finished good level. So this is just hard evidence, very similar to things that we're doing today with some of our customers and helping them with some of their manufacturing processes.